Morning, everyone. Canada is kind of stuck between two giant superpowers, right? The two superpowers, China and the United States. And the United States has been waging and winning a trade war against China in the last 8 months, 10 months. And President Trump is not quiet about this. He's tweeted recently that Huawei exec Meng Wanzhou, sorry if I got that wrong, it could be part of the deal. And I mean, he has left Justin Trudeau twisting in the wind over this for months. And it's funny because Justin Trudeau has insulted Donald Trump at every single chance he's gotten. And Trump stands there and takes it and then does stuff like this. Takes 6 months to get back to Trudeau on, can we please deal or at least understand what the extradition order is for Miss Wanzhou? And Trump said, yeah, maybe it can be part of the trade deal. Maybe. Ha. I mean, Donald Trump many people spend a lot of time on him, but at this point in time, he wins consistently against our prime minister. It doesn't matter that our prime minister gets little digs in and that's, I guess, for the polls, I suppose. But ultimately, Trump looks at that and then says, all right, I mean, here's what we're going to do because these guys aren't being nice, aren't playing ball, aren't doing what partners are supposed to do. And that's my firm belief. If we treated the United States correctly, I think that things would be different. We wouldn't be stuck between a rock and a hard place. But we are, and Justin Trudeau's not changing course. But he's begging China. Begging. Well, his minister is, Miss Freeland is. We'll hear that in just a minute. First, Maclean's is reporting, quote, "Hello, President Xi. This is Justin Trudeau from Canada." Click. Yeah. Like talking to a great wall, Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland dispatched a delegation of MPs to China led by her parliamentary secretary, Toronto MP Rob Oliphant, to make the case directly to Chinese officials that the two men should be released. The parliamentarians from the Canada-China Legislative Association are scheduled to be in China until May 25th. What isn't at all clear is whether anyone with any authority will even meet with them. Freeland admitted she's tried and failed repeatedly to get a meeting with her counterpart, while Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has been unable to get the ear of President Xi Jinping. Sorry, I got that wrong. The Chinese practice seems to be to avoid in the early stages of these kind of standoffs, to avoid high-level meetings, said Freeland. And in the early stages, Miss Freeland, this has been going on for at least a year and probably more. This isn't the early stages. This is, you guys have messed up big time, and now major world powers aren't talking to you. Okay, back to the article. For his part, Canada's former ambassador to China, Guy Saint-Jacques, sorry if I got that wrong, Guy Saint-Jacques, sees little chance anyone from Canada will be listened to. Quote, "Nobody in the Chinese government wants to meet with a Canadian minister or special envoy, even if the prime minister were to phone Chinese President Xi Jinping, he would not take the call." Basically bullies. Back in Canada, Trudeau is less enamored with China's basic dictatorship these days. In some of his toughest language since the Canada-China chill began, he said democracies around the world should not lie down and accept China's aggressive ways. Quote, "China is making stronger moves than it has before to try and get its own way on the world stage. Western countries and democracies around the world are pulling together to point out that this is not something we need to continue to allow." Yeah, right guys? We don't have to stand for this, right everybody? Let's stand up to China together, right? Yeah, come on. Everybody loves Canada. So here is Miss Freeland talking, and this is an awful picture. Like, this is an awful, awful picture. But anyway, she's talking about trying to get an audience with her counterpart in China. And this is on television. Like, this is, wow, this is incredible. Have a listen.
But the one country they can't get on the phone is China itself.
I have sought repeatedly a meeting with Wang Yi, the foreign minister, my counterpart. Thus far, that meeting hasn't happened, but if Chinese officials are listening to us today, let me repeat that I would be very keen to meet with Minister Wang Yi or to speak with him over the phone at the earliest opportunity.
Please call. I'd love to hear from you. Please, if you're listening. Oh my God. I mean, diplomacy again, right? Like the other day I was talking about how an international incident has happened because of inaction on the part of the Canadian government. The inaction of contacting the business that sent the garbage to the Philippines in the first place. Hey, did you know that you sent a bunch of garbage and now the president of The Philippines is involved? Oh, yeah. And all of the stuff that should have happened after that, making sure the business cleaned up its mess, making sure that it followed through, finding it if it didn't. Not, we've got to send somebody down there now, send somebody quick to pick that up. And then when that's not fast enough, Duarte says, forget that, right? So I think it's interesting that all of that has happened. But our climate minister, Ms. Freeland, is focusing on Newfoundland, and we'll see that in a second, instead of focusing on CFCs being secretly emitted by China. And I mean, I guess I understand why they're not being too hard on China right now, right? This is on May 22nd, so right in the middle of the envoy's trip. So I understand maybe why the climate minister is conveniently not talking about this, but it's interesting that icebergs are a problem, but this... silence from the climate minister. National Post is reporting, quote, scientists discover China has been secretly emitting banned ozone-depleting gas. Ha! The link is in the description to read the rest of it. I'm just going to tell you how long this has been happening and then show you some tweets from the climate minister. Now, in a new study published in Nature on May 22nd, scientists from the University of Bristol, Kung-Puk National University, and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, found that between 40 and 60% of total global CFC-11 emissions originate from eastern China. With the help of international network of measurement devices designed to identify and track gases in the atmosphere, the team behind the study found that data from the devices in Korea and Japan has spiked since 2013. So they've been doing this since 2013. And there's the fancy map, but it's interesting, right? And here's our federal minister. Here's Miss Catherine McKenna saying, icebergs off Newfoundland coast, very dangerous sign of climate change. Really? Really? We will see more of that, more multi-year ice that is separating coming south, right? The Federal Minister of Environment and Climate Change is sounding the alarm on how climate change could impact Newfoundland and Labrador. Quote, I know everyone's looking at the icebergs that you can see off the coast. That may be nice, but may be a good tourist attraction, but it's also very dangerous, said Catherine McKenna, who is in St. John's on Thursday. And we will see more of that, more multi-year ice that is separating and coming south. That's an issue for folks who are out on the waters. Is that different than 100 years ago? Is that fundamentally different, Ms. McKenna, having icebergs now versus 100 years ago? Well, when did the Titanic sink? April 14th. So, a month and a bit ago, right? 40 days ago. Would icebergs no longer be floating in the North Atlantic because it's summer? No. Icebergs are kind of there floating around. And here's a map of where the Titanic sank and hit an iceberg in 1912, in April 1912. And you can see this is Nova Scotia, right? And what's that landmass there? Right. Okay. So this whole idea that climate change is causing icebergs and icebergs are melting and therefore floating down is new. Not new. Nope, not new. And the Titanic sunk quite further south than Newfoundland is. So, yeah, I think my brother-in-law, who lives in Newfoundland, said they had snow last week. So, and I could be wrong about that. My weeks could be off. It could be the beginning of May. But it was certainly recently I heard about snow in Newfoundland. So this is not new. Here's Ms. McKenna again talking about Newfoundland. She said, more extreme weather, warming oceans, rising sea levels, decreasing sea ice. People across Newfoundland and Labrador are already feeling these impacts. Thankful for the productive discussion about these impacts with local mayors today. We need to keep working together. The reason I'm showing you this is not for the tweet itself, it's for the replies, right? The Daily Whopper brought to you by Catherine McKenna. Oh no, is it time to give another $12 million to grant to plutocratic billionaires for new refrigerators? Failing that, we could fly 300 of us to preach in Paris at taxpayers' expenses. Unprecedented climate change has caused sea level at Sydney Harbor to rise approximately 0 centimeters over the past 140 years. Yes, it's coming any day now. Any day it's going to happen. Right? Blah, 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 blah. How can the Liberal caucus endorse this relentless alarmism, which is not working with most Canadians? Maybe not surprising given the indifference shown to broken budget promises, ethics violations, interference. I've lived in Newfoundland for 2 years. I've stood in the Atlantic more than once. I can tell you that it is not warmed. In fact, the water is so cold I could only stand shin deep for about 30 seconds before the pain was intolerable. In Agenda 2030 using municipal governments. Okay, so that is kind of the sampling I want to show you. Basically, no one believes this crap anymore. So, It's crap. You need to show us more evidence. You need to actually prove something's happening rather than saying they're feeling the effects now. We're feeling it now. Definitely feeling it now. What specifically? The icebergs? Yeah, right. Sure. Anyway, have a wonderful Saturday, everyone. In Ontario today, it's a bit rainy, but I hope your Saturday and your weekend weather improves. It's supposed to actually start feeling like May out there. I saw 25 degrees in the forecast. So have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Thanks for watching. Check out thepeoplespartyofcanada.ca and have a great day.